Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Monday, the 24th of January. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined as ever by Joshua Barrie. How are we doing, Joshua?
Yeah, good, Derek. Thank you. Good weekend. Pretty good Friday night performance, considering it was a bit of had the potential to be a bit of a dead rubber Scottish Cup game. Alex Lowry'S debut obviously brightens it up, and then we have the good news that Joe Aribo is coming back to Ibrox soon last night. So can't ask for much more than that, can you?
Yeah, let's get stuck into that. Before we do that, folks, if you're watching us on YouTube, I know that many of you are, just hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss a video when we go live. And also, we've still got that fantastic offer on the Rangers Review site where it's absolutely free for the first month. So do go check it out. Some fantastic content on there. It's rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe. So I'd urge you all to go and have a look at that. So much to talk about, as you mentioned there, Joshua, over the course of the weekend. We'll touch on the Joe Aribo news last night because his Nigerian side were put out the African Cup of Nations by Tunisia. They lost by 1-0 last night. So that means that his involvement with the Super Eagles is no more, and they'll be coming back to Glasgow. I'd imagine Livingston will be too soon for him, but would you be right in thinking that Ross County next weekend and, crucially, Celtic, he'll be back in amongst it?
Yeah, I mean, when you seen Nigeria earlier in the competition, I think there was an expectation that they'd go beyond this stage. So, it'll be obviously, I'm sure Joe Aribo will be disappointed that his team maybe slightly underperformed their expectations, but Rangers supporters would be really, really excited to have him back. You might imagine Livingston might be too soon. Then again, I think Thomas Partey flew in on the same day and played for Arsenal last week against Liverpool after getting knocked out with Ghana. So I don't think it's improbable that he's available for Wednesday, but it will bring such a boost. I think you've seen against Aberdeen, Derek, how there was a lot of tactical issues in that game, but certainly going forward, Rangers centrally looked quite toothless without Aribo. And certainly for the Old Firm coming up, but also just any game. I think you've seen that as well when Rangers played Dundee United at home just before Christmas. Joe Aribo was, I think, one booking away from a suspension, so only came on with 25 or 30 minutes to go. And the team certainly looked a little bit, again, toothless without him in the centre of the pitch. So, it'll be fantastic to have him back. And he's had a great season. I was looking this morning at his numbers before and after Giovanni Van Bronckhorst arrived, Derek, and with a lot of these things, because there has been this kind of not so much new manager bounce, but players have benefited from new ideas, and the team overall has kind of looked refreshed. But Aribo's numbers have been pretty consistent throughout the season. And there was a point earlier in the season, I remember, I think Motherwell won, Rangers won at Ibrox, where his final ball was being criticised. He went in and around the penalty box. He was playing really well box to box. That was a line the previous manager often used, I think, in relation to Joe Aribo. But since Van Bronckhorst came in, it's just that final touch in the final third has materialised. So it'll be great to have him back because he's such an important member of this team.
Oh yeah, he most certainly is. And I think as much as everyone was wishing him well with Nigeria in the AFCON, I think Rangers supporters worldwide were jumping for joy when that result came through, and it meant that he was flying back. So he'll be a massive boost. It's almost like the cliche, a new signing, Josh, because I mean, Rangers have struggled without him in terms of creativity, and he comes back in at a crucial stage when it looked like Rangers would be missing. I know it's next week away, but the Celtic game is on the horizon, and you're thinking Alfredo Morelos is away, Joe Aribo is away as well. But it's a big thing that he's going to return. Also coupled with the fact that Kemar Roofe has turned down a call up to Jamaica to stay with Rangers in this crucial time of the season. So that is yet another boost.
Yeah, and we spoke last week about Kemar Roofe and how important he could be in this fixture. It was only a few months ago that he scored twice in that 4-1 win, Derek, and looked fantastic. Could have had a hat-trick. And we're yet to see him really in this system, but I think he could really thrive under Van Bronckhorst, even as an understudy to Morelos, depending on how many minutes he gets. Roof obviously hasn't been that available this season, but his last season, I think his XG from open play crosses, the value of chances from open play crosses was double of Morelos. I think he's really good in those areas, Roof. And you've seen a lot. I think if you watch some of his Leeds goals, you see a lot of kind of headers and transitions, or him getting into the box and benefiting from space. So I do think that could really work as well. And I think it's probably the right decision if you've been out for a number of games with your club. I think the priority probably has to be full fitness first before you go and play games elsewhere. So yeah, the squad's certainly looking stronger for that game than it was at the start of the weekend, Derek, and hopefully Roof, who did get 30 minutes against Stirling Albion on Friday, and the manager said after he was feeling good, just good to get some minutes under his belt. Came on at the number 10 position. In that game, I think he'll very much be the player probably that starts through the middle at Celtic Park, unless it be Fashion Sakala, but I think Roof is the most likely option.
Yeah. Before we touch on that game on Friday night, Joshua, I wanted just to address this an interesting question from Gary Gray. He says, if Joe Aribo coming back early, he reckons it'll impact on transfers this window. He still thinks that Rangers need a right winger, but would be confident this squad could get us over the line this season. What do you make of that? Do you think it will impact on transfers? I'm sort of the opinion that another fresh face before the window closes would benefit the group, whether Joe Aribo was coming back or not.
Yeah, well, who knows if John Sousa might be that fresh face as well, Derek. I guess that's not necessarily the area that supporters want to see depth in, though. And just go back to what Ross Wilson said when Van Bronckhorst came in about if there was a sale that the squad would be reinvested in. Van Bronckhorst said, I think it was last week's press conference, that there was, room to manoeuvre within the market. But as we said before, I think the January market is notoriously difficult, and it will be dependent on the circumstances and what arises. But I think there's still definitely room for a right winger. The kind of thing, again, we're just repeating ourselves in terms of what we need, but someone that can mirror what Kent offers Rangers on the left wing, who can play against a multitude of opponents and game plans and circumstances, whether that be playing in tight spaces, playing in behind, stretching, but just that kind of dependability. And Fashion Sakala, I think he really deserves a run in the team, but he's so good at coming off the left. I don't know if that would be he'd be as productive off the right wing. So space there, maybe as well space for another number 8. I thought Juninho Bacuna did well. He seems to have not be able to impress in some regards, but I thought he did as well as you can for a game like that, Derek, and had a couple of defensive moments as well that made you kind of sit up and take notice. There was one moment in the second half where he had good discipline kind of to hold his position and then track back and stop a counter attack. So yeah, I think a right winger that can start games, start every game like Kent is a priority. I agree with Gary that I think that squad would get you over the line in terms of Scott Wright playing some games, Fashion Sakala playing some games. I know Yanis Hadji doesn't seem to have settled off the right, but he does give you a different option in terms of changing the angles of attacks coming in on his left foot, but that's not really worked too well for him. And obviously he picked up an injury on Friday as well, so we'll have to wait and see on the severity of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look more detail into Friday's result. Of course, Rangers running out 4-0 winners over Stirling Albion in the Scottish Cup to book their next round place. And we'll touch on that draw shortly. Joshua, you were there for us. I think the big talking point was Alex Lowry making his debut, coming on and impressing, coming on for Yanis Hadji, who went off. Hopefully it's nothing too serious for him. But he was really impressive, wasn't he? He was, and he capped it with a terrific goal as well.
Yeah, and if you look at the chance creation from the game, Derek, which is on the site, it really wasn't until Lowry came on that Rangers started to create many chances. Within the first 20 minutes, I don't think they had they had one shot on or two shots on the Stirling Albion goal, one of which was John Lundstrom's strike and Cedric Hitton's miss from close range. But Lowry, the composure was kind of the word that surrounded the entire debut, because he came on to the pitch, demanded the ball immediately, and if you watch how he takes that goal, to have the composure to not snatch at a shot in that situation, it's just really impressive. And you know, if you look at the entire move, the way we've got an analysis of his debut on the site, Derek, and if you look at how he played that game, constantly looking over his shoulder, always playing with a picture of what's ahead of him, not someone that's going to run off the last man or necessarily beat players at pace, although he did have a couple of moments one-on-one, but just someone that was able to link play first time because he plays with that picture of the game and do it with such composure. And he spoke about how the Lowland League has helped that, playing against opponents not dissimilar to the, obviously a little bit below, but not too dissimilar to the quality of Stirling Albion, and didn't look put off by the physical challenge. And, you know, it was Nathan Patterson 2 years ago in the Scottish Cup game after the winter break, Derek, that kind of made his mark in the first team. Took him a while to get more appearances. Hopefully for Lowry, it won't be such a, you know, he'll be able to get into the first team with greater regularity sooner. But he was really, really impressive. On a night that you thought maybe Leon King was going to be the youngster that kind of stole the headlines, if you will, Lowry will have been absolutely delighted with that debut. And the goal was just really well taken and really smooth.
Yeah, it was great to see Leon King come on as well. I did see some comments suggesting that Alex Lowry should be promoted to the first team squad, Joshua, until the end of the season, and some suggesting he should get a run out in place of Yanis Hadji. Where do you stand on that? Is it too early to speak about that sort of stuff?
Well, it's one game, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess that's it. I mean, Hadji hasn't had a good season by any measure. You know, overlying numbers, I think he's had 2 goals. Underlying numbers, or maybe 3 goals. Underlying numbers, you know, his chance creation is down, but there's still a quality player in there. I guess the argument goes on whether he fits into the system, how he fits into this system as a you know, a starting central player. Obviously, he'd have hoped for more games before Joe Aribo came back from AFCON, but it's not really worked out with the appearance with Aberdeen and then getting injured against Stirling Albion. But yeah, I think that Lowry's an interesting one because he does kind of have that. Well, he obviously is kind of an 8 or a 10 within this system. He played as one of the 2 10s in his words on Friday, but it's a very offensive lineup from Rangers, more of a 3-6-1 in the first half, which was interesting to see, with Brandon Barker to the right, kind of alternating with Tavernier, who came in field, Fashion Sakala to the left, Cedric Itten up front, and then Lowry when he came on, Bakuna, and Tavernier ahead of Lundstrom at the base of midfield, who I thought had a good game as well. Again, a player that seems to, I don't really know how much more he could have done as a sitting midfielder against Stirling Albion. I think he had 94% pass accuracy, and I say that because he played 24 passes into the final third, I think it was. So it wasn't as if he was always playing safe passes. Thought he had a good game as well. So yeah, it was a pretty good night all round. Could have scored a couple more. Tavernier misses a penalty. That's probably the only, you know, slight blip, because we've been here before when James Tavernier's missed a penalty, and then that leads to who takes the penalty. And
yeah, I think I'd cut him some slack. I think he'd scored one just recently prior to that one. Goalkeeper guessed right. It was a decent save. It wasn't struck as well as the first one, I don't think, but Blair Curry deserves a wee bit of credit, I think, for that. I don't think it's going to affect him, Tavernier, going forward, that's for sure. You see, when you mentioned Brandon Barker, Joshua, I think everyone was surprised to see him in the starting lineup on Friday. A lot of people may have forgot he was still at Ibrox. What did you make of that, as being included in the starting lineup? Firstly, his performance, and should we read too much into that? Do you think he'll get any more involvement going forward?
It's a strange one because we were speaking about it in the press room before, and how, you know, if you're a first team player like Brandon Barker and then a youngster comes in to play ahead of you, that could probably be quite demoralising. And I guess there'll be an element of, Van Bronckhorst said it's important for Jack Simpson and him to get competitive minutes because they've not had those for a while. But it is also a little bit strange because neither of those 2 players seem to be a part of the first team picture of the future at Rangers at the moment. I don't really see it as a shop window kind of move, because that, you know, if a club wants to take Brandon Barker, and I don't think 60 minutes against Stirling Albion is going to dictate it either way for them,
No.
And obviously, in terms of Simpson, you could have given Leon King a start. So yeah, it was an interesting one. But the manager just said he wanted to give them competitive minutes, and for Barker, it was the first in a long time, and I thought he did okay. But again, he's not someone Rangers certainly don't need more kind of players
No.
on the right that can only offer things sporadically. And Simpson again, I don't think he did okay, but it doesn't look to be part of the first team picture. So an intriguing one, certainly from the manager.
Yeah, this is an interesting comment, and it leads us on to the actual Scottish Cup draw. Rangers being drawn away to Annan Athletic in the next round. Paul Rooney says you could have Alex Lowry starting in the Scottish Cup with it being lower league opposition again. It'd be more used to the environment with it being away from home. I would have no qualms about that, Joshua. Annan, of course, beat Clydebank at the weekend at a thrilling game, that one. Rangers should be expected to go down there. It's sort of sparks memories 10 years ago when Rangers were playing in the lower leagues, the likes of Stirling Albion and Annan, Joshua. But it's a match that I like when Rangers are going away to little grounds like this. It's the magic of the cup, if you like, and it gives another opportunity for the young boys to get a chance.
Yeah, we look at that squad on what day was it, Friday, and there was a lot of players that needed minutes within there. Cedric Itten as well, obviously got his goal and celebrated it, because Cedric Itten loves celebrating a goal in front of the fans, doesn't he? He roared similarly to when he scored against Real Madrid at that end in a friendly. But yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think the thing with, as Paul says, Lowry obviously has experience playing in these types of games, and certainly from his point of view, that's really helped him playing in the Lowland League, playing against men, and playing in games that matter. I think that's one of the key things as well. And so I'd like to see Lowry start. I'd like to see Bacuna given another chance, Derek, because I thought, I mean, his assist for Sakala second goal, I've hardly seen it spoken about. I thought was excellent.
I mentioned it on Twitter at the time. It wasn't talked about enough, I don't think. But any assist with the outside of the boot, he just threaded it through the eye of a needle into Sakala. It was a terrific assist, it has to be said. Of course, 2 assists he set up Alex Lowry as well, but people often overlook that and maybe look at his work rate and things like that, Joshua, but I thought he did okay on Friday.
Yeah, and then again, the one time that the Stirling Albion kind of did actually break beyond the defensive line, it was Bacuna that rushed back beyond the defence to stop it. Yeah. And I just think there needs to be a bit of kind of, just to take it with a pinch of salt. He didn't go and score a hat trick, and whatever, but he did pretty well. He's hardly had any starts. His last start at home against Ross County, and I don't think it's a case of saying that Bacuna is Rangers' answer at number 8 necessarily. I just think as a squad option at the moment, he's done okay when he's played. And Lundstrom as well, I thought he was pretty good. You've seen how he can ping the ball with both feet. Also, he took a shot with his left foot that I thought was going to send Blair Curry into the net. He got behind it, and you felt the force of it from the stands. So I think all in all, it was a pretty promising game. Interesting to see a different system trialled in the first half. Interesting to see that Tavernier increasingly is coming in field in these home fixtures. And yeah, Itten in and around the box, I thought he looked okay as well. Link up play wasn't bad. Obviously got his goal. I don't know what you made of the chance in the first half, Derek, because I know he got a lot of heat for missing that, but it did come at quite an angle. The one I think where he's tried to knee it in eventually.
Yeah. We've got to remember he's not had much game time of late. He's still getting his match sharpness back. It's not going to come instantly. I think if he gets a run of games, as I'd imagine he will do with Alfredo Morelos heading off of Colombia, I think he'll get better game by game. So I don't think he should be criticised too much with regards to that. But it is Rangers, of course, and that's the way it is. You don't really get much time. But I'd cut my bit of slack about that.
Yeah, but for me, the thing is, if Kemar Roof is fit, he'll play ahead of Itten. So that's the thing. I guess it's with Itten. You look at Lowry, and I was speaking to someone at the game, and they were saying he's taking his chance, because that isn't. We often say our players do need a few games, just as I'm saying with Bacuna as well. But the reality is that it's quite a instant demand for success often at Ibrox, and that's what Lowry did. He didn't take time to bed in, didn't play safe passes, was many moments I thought in the game where you look back at it and he could have laid the ball backwards, but he tried things. He tried to play forwards, and I think that's ultimately will stand him in good stead. If you have an air of aloofness, as I said in my piece, in your play at Ibrox, that's no bad thing at all, because you need to have the confidence to go and try things, and he certainly did that on Friday.
Yeah, but before we finish up, Josh, just a couple of comments coming in about John Lundstram. Brew Coop says, is Lundstram better as a 6 or an 8? Scott Kearney gets in touch. He says he thought Lundstram played well on Friday. How do you feel that he did watching them at Ibrox?
Yeah, well, I think he's 7 out of 10. Did more than a 6, I thought, as assist for Itten, although it was a little bit rusty because Itten didn't move across his man until the ball was played. I thought Lundstram was good. Obviously, I have to take into account the opposition. I think the 6 or the 8 question, I think he's a 6. And when Rangers have a lot of the ball, I think away from home, sometimes if space opens up, you see his power. Bromby at home, I think he played more as an 8 as well. And there was a few moments where he was able to open up and make his way, carry the team up the pitch. But it's a difficult one because you've now got James Sands in that position as well, Derek. But yeah, I thought Lundstram used the ball pretty well. For number 6 isn't always going to give you the most awe-inspiring performance, but especially given he had 3 centre-backs behind him, there was a potential for it to look stale. But Rangers building up with that kind of 3-1 structure, whether it be 3 centre-backs or Borna Barisic tucking in with a defensive midfielder, I think that works well and allows him to get up the pitch. So, as Lundstram said in his press conference when you spoke to him, Derek, it's frustrating when you come in for one game and you're expected to set the world alight. But I think coming off the pitch in Ibrox on Friday, he'd been pretty happy with what he did, considering.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll finish up. Aldo gets in touch. He says he wants to wish wee Jamesy a happy 18th birthday. He says the wee man is a legend, does so much for our great club with all the charity work he does. So a happy birthday, Jamesy. Hope you have a terrific day today. That'll do us there, folks. Thanks as ever to everyone getting in touch. It really is much appreciated. If you haven't already done so, remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, just hit that subscribe button. And also, we've got that great offer on just now on the Rangers Review site where it's absolutely free for the first month. It's $2.99 per month thereafter, but it's absolutely fantastic. I'd recommend you go and check it out. Just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe. Okay, we'll be back again tomorrow, but until then, enjoy the rest of your Monday.